Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to Talkin Tuesdays, the person behind the pit. I have a special guest here, Chef Fritz. That's what I call you. That's your Instagram handle, and I believe that's kind of what you go by on a regular basis. So why not? Thank you, everyone, for joining in. You got Cherry Anchor, Rio, Blazing Star. Eat with me XYZ. That's awesome. But go ahead, the guys that are and ladies that are in the chat, share this live. Copy the link. Don't forget to like the thing, the live, by the way, and share the link on Instagram. Let people know we're all in here. But yeah, so anyways, it's a Tuesday. Mr. Chef Fritz, what are you drinking?
So I'm just drinking some Coke tonight. My boys
Hey,
that are on here know why I drink my Coke.
just for starters, right now I got my where is it? A C4 energy drink. Dude, Starburst, red Starburst flavor. That's it's crazy. Let me do something real quick. Sorry about that. I need to adjust some things there. How's that? Can you hear me a little bit better?
I can find you.
Okay. Good deal. So, all right. Why don't you go ahead? I'm going to feature you on the screen. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Kind of tell us who you are, like right now. All right.
Yeah, sounds good. So hey everybody. So I'm Chef Fritz. I go by Fritz. I know Mike's on here, Blazing Star. Yeah, so I just retired from the Air Force in October last year. I've had my own business for like 6 years, 7 years now. I do pop-up style restaurant experiences. Most of it's live fire, so that's kind of how I got into the whole barbecue kind of pitmaster world. When I retired, I became part of this company here, so Liberty Delight Farms, which is the company I work with right now. They're my partner in crime, so to speak. They raise all beef, cattle, pork, chicken, pretty much everything, all natural. So they're my partner. I'm their chef in residence, and we do a lot of our dinners and things there, host classes, a lot of cool stuff there. So
Nice.
that's the main stuff I'm doing right now is that I put out a food line through them. So I have a small line of products that I'm doing through their farm store, online share, working on some spices, those kind of things. So it's been a whirlwind like 3.5 months for me. So really transitioned from the Air Force world to like actual
Right.
civilian world, right? But having my feet in, both in the military world and then in the civilian world, like being a chef on the side. So I've been a head chef at a golf club for like 2 years at one
That's
point while I
awesome.
was still active duty. So I was doing, 60 plus hours a week active duty and then another 50 hours a week, working for this golf club. So, but yeah, so that's kind of me in a nutshell. Yeah, I'm married, 3 kids. I love the open fire cooking. So Al Fragoni, I know you guys are all buddies with him too.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Um, he's my boy. Got his Alamo grill, and I was doing open fire stuff like building pits myself, like just concrete blocks and stuff like that. I built one in my backyard. That's really how I was getting into a lot of stuff, smoking on the side too, those kind of things. But yeah, it's kind of me. I live out in Maryland right now. I never thought I'd live here permanently, so I retired out of DC. I live here because my wife's family was from here, so we're kind of chilling out here, and had a lot of things come up right before I retired, so it works out business wise
Yeah.
to be out here. So
So, uh, you real quick there was a few things. Dude, the Alamo. You got the Alamo. That's nice. You must have a decent backyard.
yeah, it's pretty cool. My backyard backs up to a national forest, so it's not too bad. It's a nice view. I spent COVID money, so I was working still, obviously in the military life, but I spent some of the time that I had with not working full time COVID. I built a backyard. So I built a gazebo. I put on a whole patio. I built a wood fire pizza oven. I built a wood
Damn.
fire grill. So fire pit. I've got plans to do more stuff with the backyard too. I want to do an open hearth that I'll put back there too, and also to kind of hold my wood. So right now, I have the standard wood rack, the metal frame wood rack with a tarp over it. But I want to build a full like either rock or brick and just brick it all in, and then just be able to stick
Heck
all my
yeah.
stuff in it. So
So, also, thank you for your service.
thank
We all
you.
appreciate it, and we all respect that here. And Mr. Cherry Anchor had this question. I know what the the answer is, but go ahead and answer that for him.
Yeah, so it's my last name. Growing up, I was actually Little Fritz. I'm still short, so I'm probably still Little Fritz. But no, my brother was Fritz, and then once he finally left high school a couple years before I did, I actually became Fritz, and so it's just kind of stuck with me forever.
Right.
So,
So now we're talking about the back. Oh, here we go. Here's another question I think is actually a good question. And then we'll go to your backstory a little bit. But Blazing Star Barbecue asks, when are you building me a little casita to stay out when I come out?
hey, I've got one in my basement right now, man. You're more than welcome to come crash
Oh,
anytime,
there
dude.
you go.
So like I said, June, man. So we're looking at trying to host a SEA event out here in June. So
Whoa.
Mike, you're welcome to come out. Anybody's welcome to come out. We'll have some fun, and I know you guys got to hang out. Some of the people on here probably got to hang out with Al and stuff. And I think the other event, the Feast Fest or whatever he went to before that, like I want
Yeah,
to do something like that out here too, just to.
that'd be cool.
So Maryland's not really known for beef and barbecue. I'll tell you that much. There's a lot of barbecue places here, but they're not
They're
known
not the
for it.
greatest.
No, but that's why I like about the farm I work at. We have Holstein cattle. Everything's naturally raised, and it's like I literally
Right.
walk into our farm store, and I'm like, I want this cut of beef, I want that cut of beef. We did a little TV show thing that's supposed to be coming out hopefully soon once we sell it. We did the dinosaur beef bones. We had them cut 8 inch, and me and my buddy George Lowe, we cooked two different style meals for this show. So he did a standard kind of barbecue plate, pickles, pickled pickles, beans, all that kind of stuff. And I took it with my chef training. I took it fine dining, and I braised that beef, and I
Oh,
cut it on a slab. Did like these domino potatoes on there, a cool little sauce with it. So
slick, dude.
yeah, it's pretty cool. So it's nice to have my food, my products, beef and all that stuff where
Right.
literally just right in my hands. So,
So with
but
the with that said, so the fine dining part. So how did you? I mean, like wait, where did you grow up?
so I'm from Buffalo, New York originally, but I lived
Okay.
like high school time in Colorado in Arvada,
Oh,
so
okay.
outside of Denver.
So just hanging out,
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
that. Like what? How did you? How did you get into the food world, or were you always kind of interested in that? Like you know.
yeah. I mean, I was always interested in working with my hands, really. So,
Mhm.
I mean, growing up, so my dad's been a mechanic my entire life. Like, I mean,
Oh,
we saw him
nice.
over Christmas. He runs a tire store right now. So,
Wow.
I always wanted to do something with my hands, and it always seemed to make sense. Because I grew up extremely poor. So like having my dad as a mechanic was helpful because we always had beater cars and trucks. You know what I mean? So he was always pulling out the duct tape or whatever he had to do to keep us going, keep things running. But that kind of transition, I met my wife right before I was supposed to go to college, had a scholarship to play hockey in New York. Um, and I met my wife right after that, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna forego college and I'm gonna get married. And then I was like, I want to move away from family. So where am I gonna do? So I'm like, hey, I'll join the military. So I did that, and then after probably 6 years in the military, I ran into this company called UTI. I don't know if it should still be around, Universal Technical Institute. So I was actually going to go be an auto mechanic. So they had a hybrid program. It was like a new thing with the online schooling. So I was going to do online classes and then go in and do all the technical work stuff, the labs and stuff. And then the week before my class was supposed to start, they canceled the program. So I had to figure out something to do, and my buddy was teaching English at the culinary school, the Cordon Bleu by us. So he's like, "Hey, come check it out." So I checked it out, and next thing you know, I'm signed up for culinary school and spent 18 months in culinary school doing 22-hour days, with work and drive because I lived on one side of Phoenix and I went to school in Scottsdale. So it was pretty crazy, long days. But my wife hated me for pretty much 18 months, so because I never saw her but it was worth it. I mean, everything is working out good now. So
Oops, totally didn't realize my mic was muted. And I'm sitting here, yeah, all right, great. Yay. Like an idiot. So, but that's freaking awesome, dude. So fine dining. All right. We'll cut that history. I know you said you worked as like an executive chef, stuff like that. Where did the barbecue and live fire stuff come in?
yeah, so it's actually really funny, because most people get, I mean, I barbecued in my backyard like everybody, right? But
Right.
like I took the way roundabout way. So I went to a fine dining classical, French trained school. to then get into stuff like Francis Malman, who's in Argentina. I know Al knows who I'm talking about too. He's huge. You know, watching his stuff and learning about him and seeing the open fire stuff he does, but he's like a 3 Michelin star chef. So like he knows this stuff. So like I started reading this stuff, and then I started reading stuff from um, just lots of different chefs, like cookbooks and things like that, and just seeing what else was out there. So
Uh-huh.
like, I went to French school, but I always love Italian food. So it was kind of weird anyway. So I was like, I was already breaking the rules already. And then I got into this open fire cooking and realizing how smoke is a flavor, and I started taking the flavors in style dishes and stuff, and then merging those into different, open fire cooking, or just trying to get, smoke infused into dishes. And, now I do like pasta dishes that are with a smoked tomato sauce, all sorts of cool stuff. I'll take
Ooh.
smoked meat and ground it up and turn it into like a tortellini, and then, put it in a sauce, like things
Ooh.
like
Ooh.
that. And it's blowing people's minds.
Brisket raviolis.
Yeah, all sorts of stuff. I mean, anything you can think of. And I've been working on a cookbook for a year or two, trying to do ancient cuisines, like Italian primarily, so Roman cuisines, and I'm trying to figure out ways to bring something that historic, ancient, with their cooking techniques, because a lot of it was open fire, right? Because they didn't have stoves and
Yeah.
electricity, and then trying to take modern dishes with what they would do now and use open fire cooking. So it's like it's way roundabout to go from this kid at McDonald's when I was in high school, to 3 Michelin star type restaurants and things like that, all the way into the barbecue world, and volunteering for an event. And next thing I'm working with Brad Orison and Brooke at an
Yeah, and
OBR event.
we're gonna touch
Yeah,
on that. Hey, don't fast
yeah.
forward to me
I'm
too
sorry.
much, man. You're killing it. You're killing it. No, I'm just kidding.
There
It's
we
all
go.
right. It's all right. But yeah, because I'm kind of trying to
Yeah.
like trickle into there. So then I mean, obviously you got really comfortable with the grill, the open fire, the doing that, and obviously the fine dining, kind of putting the two together, all that kind of stuff. So and here we go. We'll just touch on that. So then, how did you end up getting into like the competition world and working like with the shed?
Again, that's a roundabout story. So,
Let's
you know,
do this.
yeah. So, Station, Arizona. Going through culinary school, and there's a national chapter called the American Culinary Federation,
Uh-huh.
which is it's professional. I mean, really anybody, the entrepreneurs, all that stuff can be part of it. So I joined them in Arizona and kind of followed them around. Um, but they have competitions,
Uh-huh.
at every chapter. They have it at nationals that they do, which will be in Vegas this year soon,
Oh,
in June
that's
or
sick.
July. But so I started competing professionally, or like professionally, basically doing that, which is a completely different mindset. I mean, you're doing like 4 dishes in an hour, which doesn't
Yeah.
seem like a lot, but when you're doing, I mean, you're doing it the entire thing from start to finish. You have everything raw products. So I was competing like that. I got some silver medals. I won a gold medal I do fruit carving and vegetable carving too, which is again super out of the norm for most people.
Yeah,
Um,
that's cool.
but yeah, so I volunteered a lot too. So that's something that a lot of people don't seem to do. Is I love to learn and I love to work for other people, but I like to volunteer versus getting paid, which sounds really weird, but once you get paid, then you have a job to do. Versus if I go volunteer with you, then I can learn what I want to learn and bounce from station to station. So it's a good
Right,
mix.
right, right.
But so I was learning all these cool techniques and everything, and then I volunteering for things, and I got stationed out here in DC, and we had an OBR event at Walter Reed up here at the medical center. And there's like
Nice.
the Gary Sinise, him and his Lieutenant Dan band, all that stuff, and OBR. And they're like, hey, we need some volunteers to help cook for 2,500 people. I was like, okay, sure. I love food and we're cooking food. So I show up, in the
Right.
morning, they throw me some, tons of freaking corn on the cob in these baskets. They're like, hey, you're
Uh-huh.
going to cook over here on this old hickory smoker. I'm like, what's that? I'm like, I don't have that kind of smoke. I have a Weber, or I've had a Weber at the time.
Right.
But so I'm just cooking food, and everybody's talking about food the whole entire time for 2.5 days that we were there. And next thing I know, I didn't know Brad or Brooke from the next person. Next
Uh-huh.
thing I know, that we're getting ready to wind down, clean up, and stuff like that. And this guy with this crazy red hair shows up talking to me, and I see this girl behind him filming on the phone, and I'm like, what is going on here? Because I told him about competing and the things I like to do, and next thing you know, they're like, hey, we want to be, you to be part, help us out and all this kind of stuff. And you want to go to the World Foods with us? And
That's
I was like,
sick.
absolutely. Yeah. And that was like 7, 8 years ago, I think now, 6, 7 years ago. And it literally just stuck. And next thing I know, they're like, hey, you want to come to Memphis in May with us? Do you want to, come to American Royal with us, and then they have their event down there that we went to. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's
you were just
literally,
there last weekend, right?
yeah, it was great. So, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
just been, working hard, and like again, it's volunteering. I'm not getting paid to go down there. I mean, they'll
right.
usually put us up in a house or whatever, but
Yeah.
it's fun learning from people and trying to help them, win another championship for them.
Dude,
So
that's sick, dude. I respect that a lot, man. That's cool. So, speaking of respect, I wanted to rewind a little bit. So, you had a scholarship to
yep,
play hockey.
I did.
What? Like, you really just did not? You were like, "No, I'm good."
Well,
It was the
I'm sure.
wife. It was the wife, wasn't it?
Well, it wasn't necessarily the wife.
I'm just teasing. I'm
It was
just teasing.
it was kind of the coach. So after I got offered the scholarship, and then I decided I was going to have my wife, and we were obviously not married at the time. We were still engaged, but
Right.
the coach like told me straight up. He's like, "You're not here to, I don't care about your school. Like basically, I didn't care about your schooling. I don't care. I care about you playing hockey, and you're dedicated to the team 100%." So he's like, "I don't want you to worry about family and all that stuff." And it kind of gave me a sour taste a little bit. And I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
well maybe it's not for me, because I'm not like a normal college kid, new college kid with just smoking, party, and all that stuff. I had something to
Right.
think about too. So it kind of soured me, and I was like, all right, well maybe that's not for me. Plus, I figured if I go in the military, I could get them to help pay for college.
Yeah, and that's what I
So
was just gonna ask. So then you went straight. You said, "Screw this," and you're like, "Hey, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go into the military."
pretty much, yeah. Figured it was a good way to get away from home too. To try to start my family. So
Right.
so we
You
got
really
we
you said that. I think that's probably the second and a half times you said that. I'm not saying, I mean, we're on the internets here. I don't want anyone, thinking anything bad, but man, you really, really needed to get away from your family.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I know everybody has crazy in their family. I mean, it's you can't get away from it, I don't think.
Yeah.
But
You
it
just
was
need to
just
breathe a little bit.
yeah, it's just one of those things that, just rough childhood growing up, and it just figured that, trying to start a family, or, with around everything that happened, and I kind of like just need a new setting, see if I can invent myself, and
Heck
just
yeah.
become me versus just, one of the three kids in my family. So
Right, right.
yeah.
That's sick, man. So, okay. So the first time you helped the shed with a competition, dude. How did you feel? Like, I mean, honestly, I mean, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes. Like, say, oh, I'm this like fine dining chef. I love Italian food. I like this. I know I could do all this stuff, but me, like personally, I would be like, oh, I don't think I belong here at this point. You know. So
Yeah,
how
I
how
mean,
did you how did you well, there was a comment just now, negativity. How did you put that negativity aside and just think of the positive side of it?
military training, I think. Because used to moving, I think I had lived
Yeah.
at 10 or 11 different places in my life, in the military world, and it's really, I mean, I had all the apprehension going down there, so I'm like literally driving from Maryland town to, I think went to Ocean Springs, or not Ocean Springs, what was it? Orange Beach, Alabama. That's where World Foods was. This a few years back. I literally drove down there, and I've met Brad and Brooke one time, talked to them on the phone a few times, but I literally just met them once.
All right.
They gave me the location and all that stuff, and I'm like, they're like, don't worry about a grill, don't worry, we'll help you out, all this stuff. I'm like, okay, get a
Sick.
B&B, drive all the way down there. I'm like, what am I doing? I don't know anybody. I'm cooking at the World Foods. I'm like, this is like the creme de la creme for,
Yeah.
this kind of stuff. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I'm like, I know how to cook, I know how to compete, so I have that. But as soon as I got there though, and they were setting up, it's like it was my mindset. I just started helping them set up and move stuff, whatever needed to be done. I was just doing it because I knew I was, I didn't know Brad and Brooke were as big as they were,
Yeah.
even at that time. So it's like I didn't know, so I wasn't like scared. And I worked for general officers and things like that for the
Right.
last 6.5 years of my career, cooking for them and for dignitaries and stuff. So like that stuff never really bothered me. But yeah, nervous as far as like I don't know what I'm doing here, but I just went to what I know, and that's work hard, just put my head down and do whatever that needs to be done. And that's kind of,
Right.
I think, why they like me and why they keep asking me back is just whatever needs to be done. It doesn't
I
matter
like that.
if it's, moving a pig or, sweeping up or whatever. Just do what you
Yeah.
got to do. So
Yeah, dude. That's freaking awesome. So what's like the craziest thing that you did like on your I say your first day, but It's not, but like, that World Foods, whatever. It's like, what was the crazy? You were like, wait, what? Like, do I really need to do this?
Yeah, I mean, well, just cooking. So I did the steak category, for World Foods, and it was like, let's be
Oh,
honest, I didn't know,
nice.
I didn't know anything about competition steak cooking. You know what I mean? So
Competition
like,
steaks. Yeah.
yeah, so like well, Brad was like, hey, I'm gonna introduce you to this guy named Rob. He owns Rum Runners Barbecue down in Florida.
Oh, nice.
I'm like, I'm like, okay, cool, because he's on the team. So he's like, Rob, this is Rob, this is Fritz, this is his wife Amy. They're gonna help you out. So they gave me a grill, and next you know, I'm grilling in the World Foods, and it's like storming, windy. I got a trailer behind me, and I'm holding down the side of the tent because the wind and rain is like whipping up, and I'm trying to grill the steak, to medium rare or whatever, to medium and stuff,
Yeah.
perfectly with diamond marks and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And it was just like a whirlwind, but it was me and the guy Rob. Like we lowered the tent down, so it's like, I'm already short, so it's like literally like eye level with me, and I'm trying to like not burn his tent down and also, cook the steak. So it was pretty fun, but like that first whole time was like a whirlwind. Next thing I know, we're at the awards show, and one of our buddies that's there, everybody partakes in a little bit of drinking. But we're in
Yeah.
front row of the awards thing, and it's dark in this place. And our friend, his name is Buddy. He's literally passed out, wasted, and people start stacking cans on his head. We had this like tower of beer cans on his head while he was passed out.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
but yeah, that was just stuff like that. It's you never really know. Brad and Brooke, like once you're in the fold and like they really trust you with stuff, they'll ask you to do stuff, whether it's cooking chicken or whatever category we're doing.
Right.
And so from that perspective, like I said, I was just helping out, and when they started doing the hogs and things like that, I just jumped in, like that's just what I'm used to. And I've done
Right.
butchery from culinary school and stuff, so I know how to carve up a pig and things like that and trim stuff. So I was just doing it, and they were like, okay, and like it was cool. So
See, I think you kind of bring up a good point. So like barbecue in itself, or just the act of doing it and doing all that stuff, it really it it's really based on knowledge. It's like an experience. Yeah, what you were just saying is like, it's not just knowing that a brisket should be wrapped at this point or whatever. It's the fact of like, hey, I don't need to wrap 10 briskets, but maybe that ninth one or the 11th one I have to, because this is why, but it's the experience of why you would know that, and I think that's what makes um great, I like to say grillers, I guess, or a great smokers, barbecuers, whatever, is the experience of doing it. And again, I always say the failures are what we learn from, I mean, just because you were talking about the experience of butchering the whatever, and doing the whole hog, it was nothing really different to you because you've kind of done stuff like that before.
yeah,
I mean, you didn't just go, "Oh yeah, I've seen it on a YouTube, and yeah, I think I can do it." It was the experience that you've had. So I think if anyone is that watches this or whatever, that may question themselves or say, "Wow, dude, I don't think I could do that." You should just do it. Just get going and live that experience and just experiment. I mean, we all fail to this day. Like for example, the steaks. How did you do, by the way? The first.
I actually got 11th. And so there's usually two categories, A and B for the steaks,
Uh-huh.
and I was in, I think, B or something. Anyway, but I got 11th in my category, so I actually missed like moving on to the next round or whatever. But so I was happy and sad, kind of upset because I would have won some money if I was 10th. But it was pretty crazy. Like I guess I know what I'm doing. I can
There
cook a
you
steak.
go. Yeah, it's because you did.
So yeah.
What's your favorite thing to cook or to do at a competition level of that?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Like, what's
I don't want to
something that
say.
really that you're not necessarily your favorite, but something that you just really enjoy doing more than the others?
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember. It was in Memphis in May 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. And we had the Chupacabra guys came up, and they were one of our sponsors or sharing the booth with us or whatever. And they brought Cabrito from Texas.
Oh, yeah.
And and Rectech was one of our other, like, we were sharing the trailer, so they had a trailer with like 4 Rectechs on the back, and they had just brought out this rotisserie style one. It was like open pit, so it was open with just slow roasting stuff. And A, I'd never used rotisserie, and it was their new line. And B, I never cooked Cabrito. So, they're like, hey, you want to cook the stuff up? We're gonna, we need to cook these two up on this Rectech, and then we're gonna, put the other ones into the Pellet Girls. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. So they're like, Brad and Brooke again. They're just like, do whatever you want, man. You know what I mean? Because a lot of it's for show and PR and stuff, but everybody gets to eat it. So literally, I'm sitting there cooking these Cabrito, just taking care of them, and like, not basting them or anything like that, but just moving around, make sure they're not burning and all that, just the normal stuff you would do.
Right.
And all these people are like, "Wow, is that a dog?" Like, all sorts of crazy, all sorts of crazy stuff. And on the other side of our tent, there was like a party tent, so it's probably about 9 o'clock at night, and there's all these college kids bouncing around drunk, and I'm just sitting here cooking these Cabrito, and it's that was probably the coolest experience, because that's something I hadn't ever cooked with before. And then finding out like what actually Cabrito was. I knew it was like goat or whatever, but
Yeah, the
understanding that, yeah,
milk fed
milk
baby
fed
goat.
goat. Yeah, and they pull it off the mom like right after it's born or
Oh,
whatever, give it milk, and
that's
then
sad.
that's it.
That's sad. You're gonna make me
Yeah.
cry
So,
for a second.
but it's delicious. It's lean, but if you cook it right, it's delicious, and
Yeah, yeah.
everybody loved it. So it was pretty awesome experience. And
So
then
you really like the experience of it. It's not necessarily just exactly what you're doing, whether it be a steak or something like that. You really like the throwing yourself in there and just kind of getting some things done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always think everything is a learning experience. So, like, you can probably see some of my cookbooks. Like, I've got cookbooks all over my office here, and it's not like just Italian food. I mean, I have pastry books. I do bread. I do everything. I just enjoy the pleasure of learning, and then being able to do it with my hands is the other thing. I can be
Yeah.
creative and like work with my hands, and it's fun. And I also take it as a challenge sometimes too, because like, when Brad and Brooke give you something, you're cooking for, the Cargill corporate guys or whatever, you don't want to screw that up, you
Right, right.
know. So, but no, it's fun, and yeah, I really enjoy working with my hands, and yeah, the experience. It's the same thing in the kitchen for me too. It's being on the line, and like the experience you have, doing a perfect dish or whatever and putting things out. It's just, there's something about that lifestyle, that cooking. So
Yeah, and from what I know, you have a great attitude when you're doing it. As I know Blazing Star Barbecue Mike. I remember what the Memphis in May. He was talking about you like, oh, this guy Chef Fritz, he's cool, man, and he's doing this. And I remember you happening a couple times, like that kind of thing. So your story, it not like your actual story, but just the premise, the chef to barbecue to competition type. It reminded me of Sugar Fire Smokehouse.
oh yeah,
You know what I'm talking about?
yeah,
It was just like back in the day on the the old Pit Masters shows, and I remember him being on there and doing the fine dining thing and being proud of that. And I've always liked that, and I've always remembered that show for some reason, just because it was it really intrigued me because I really like that. It's funny you say the Italian food. I'm full Italian, grew up that way. So to do things differently and to kind of I really like that. I do like simple stuff, burgers, whatever, and all that. But I really love that the artistic approach to it, I think.
yeah.
I think that's what I'm trying to say. So with that said, what's your favorite fine dining slash barbecue dish that you've made or or developing?
I think probably the best one that I've done, and that I actually got the pleasure of serving to. So I got to create it and then actually serve it to people. Is a couple years ago, I cooked for the governor of Maryland here. So they have
Oh,
a
well.
yeah, they have a buy local event. So they take like 22 chefs from across the state, and you pair up with basically a producer. So I paired up with Liberty Delight Farms. So I used their pork, and I turned their pork loin into a pork roulade, and I took duck tenderloin that I smoked, and I stuffed it on the inside of it, rolled it, and then I braised it. and then I finished it off on the grill. So it wasn't fall apart, but it was braised, so it had all the flavor. And then
Okay.
I finished it over a grill, and I made so they have duck eggs there too. So I made duck egg potato gnocchi, and then I made an
Oh.
Alabama white barbecue sauce and mixed
Oh
that up,
wow.
and then just garnished it, and that was the dish. And I had like pictures of like the governor eating it and stuff, and they said I
Dude,
got
that's
like
crazy.
the best flavor profile, I guess, at the event or whatever. So
So
it was pretty
people
cool.
don't know. People don't know like a gnocchi is like a potato pasta. I guess I would say. Uh, so that's that's freaking nuts. So now it's funny. So I I love gnocchis, but I have to have a red sauce with it. I have to have a marinara sauce.
Yeah.
And when people serve it with a white like Alfredo or something, I'm like, oh God, no.
It makes it heavy. Like it's already heavy. I think it makes it heavier, but
Yeah, and yeah, I need just like the acidity, I think, of the, but which is why I was gonna say, so the Alabama white sauce, I think would have totally worked because it had that vinegar punch in it, you know?
yep, yep,
Nice, dude.
yeah,
We gotta chat more often, man, and just
yeah,
like come up with something, dude. Maybe we'll do like a collab reel or
yeah.
some
I
kind
mean,
of some cool recipe, dude. Because I love that. I love fine dining. I like to simplify it and make it better, I guess, if that makes any sense. Okay. Anyways, I'm rambling on. What is your you obviously are really big on Italian. What's your favorite Italian dish? Authentically, what's your favorite Italian dish?
um, probably like a cacio e pepe. So so cacio e pepe is literally just you boil your noodles. So you can do bucatini noodles, you can do fettuccine, any noodle that you really want. But you just basically take the pasta out and you put it back in a pan with butter, a little bit of the sauce, salt and pepper, and then a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and that makes its own creamy kind of sauce. And
Ooh.
fresh cracked pepper. Like it's super super simple, but people screw it up. They screw it up because they have a hard time with it for some reason. Maybe the pasta water's not right, but it's super
Yeah.
simple. But if you do it right, it's like comfort food. You know what I mean? It's just so amazing. It has just enough creaminess to it, and the texture of the pasta, if it's done right, is just
You just gave
it's
me a
amazing.
crazy idea. I'm gonna have to come back to this and listen to that. You literally, I saw a video today that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but it does in a way. It puts the two together. Ooh. So see, like for me, and just like TFTI, I believe he's still in here, maybe not, but probably in and out. But like he and I, a few other people like love wings, right? Like totally getting down on the chicken wings and doing all, but like I really like to base my sauces on something that's non, buffalo wings. I really like that. Oh, I never thought of that, that kind of sauce to go on a wing or whatever. But with what you're saying, I do have an idea of how something might work.
Okay,
So we'll hit each other up. Yeah.
that sounds good.
I have to put this on there. This is funny. That's dude, Mike. So Fritz sends me voice messages describing his cooks to put me in the mood. Oh gosh. I could
You're
tell
funny,
you
Mike.
two have had some good times together. So
We have, yeah. Last was it the Royal man? He was pretty happy and dancing around on the dance floor. It was in this cowboy hat and like shorts. It was
yeah,
it
that's
was a
right.
good time. There's like all these like millionaires and stuff in this VIP lounge, and there's him just doing his thing in his cowboy hat and shorts, and I'm just like,
That's too
you know,
funny.
I love it.
So okay, last weekend you were just
Yeah.
down at the shed, a big event. Can you just describe it for me? Like, just tell us kind of like how it was, or kind of like what you went down there for, what you did. I mean, you were at this event at the Shed Barbecue down in Mississippi.
Yep. Ocean Springs,
All
Mississippi.
right.
Yep. Just outside of
So
Biloxi.
yeah, hold on just a second. Sorry. Let me. All right. Sorry about that. Okay. Well, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So again, it's you think in a competition, like again, I've done two different styles of competition, but going down to the shed is like it's an experience. If you've never been to the shed, just itself, just to eat there, I mean, it's literally a shack built on with other shacks. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah,
inside, you
yeah,
go from you go from outside where it's sandy and like they put gravel and rock down. Then you you walk in the building and it's still dirt on the floor. You know what I mean?
right.
Like, and I'm not talking about part of it. I mean the whole inside where you sit. There's they have benches, the picnic benches for seating. They have a bar that's like 20 feet long.
Well,
The only thing that's not, what's that?
I used to watch Food Network a lot, and
Yeah,
the shed has been featured on a few shows, and yeah, so I know exactly what you're talking about. So for me, I have that visual in my head. So
yeah,
that's
but
yeah.
it's
Go ahead.
crazy though. I mean, and then on top of that, like when you walk and you're standing at the bar, you look up and there's like all these dollar bills that are stabbed up there with like plastic forks and stuff, and people write, so and so was here or whatever. Um, and it's just like it's this crazy experience. And then the competition's even more because then you show up there and there's like hundreds of people, trailers everywhere, barbecue, every barbecue you can think of. I
Right.
had the pleasure, again, hanging out with Al. I have his Alamo, but I also got one of his little cowboy girls. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna cook on this thing. Nobody else I know is gonna be there with one of
Right.
these girls.
Right.
Everybody else
Right.
is cooking on a PK or Weber or whatever their grill of choice is. And I show up with his grill and I'm like, I'm gonna do this. And then of course it was like 28 degrees when we were there,
Yeah.
so it was a little tough, but no, it's just an experience. And the people that are there, I mean, let's be honest, Brad and Brooke are a big deal, right? So the shed's a big deal. So they get the heavy
Absolutely.
hitters that are in the industry. Tuffy was there, and like all these big name people that are there.
Yeah, I saw
Mike
Tuffy,
Starr was there.
Chris Lilly. Yeah, some
Yep.
guy named Mike Starr. I don't know.
Yeah, he was a big deal.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, big deal.
but
They
yeah,
had
so all these big wigs are there, and it's like they just chat with you. You know what I mean? I know some of them are nicer than others. Some of them do it because they need to because they're videoing or
right.
whatever. But like genuinely, like it doesn't matter if you're their number one competitor. They're gonna come and talk to you about food and their steaks or chicken or turkey or whatever it is that they're making. Whether they're giving you tips or asking you about like what you're doing and how you're doing it. And it's like they say it's a barbecue family, and for me it was kind of weird coming down to that, not experiencing that before, but it
Right.
literally is that. Like like I met Mike at Memphis in May last year. We've
Yeah.
talked 50 times, 100 times since then. And it's like you meet people and it's like they want to be your friends, they want to cook with you and help you out and do cool stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like it's pretty cool, and it's like I don't think you get that experience competing and doing things in other kind of sports or whatever, you know what I mean? Or other
Right.
kind of places. And that's literally what it is.
You don't get the community vibe, that camaraderie that you get. And I think that's why a lot of side note, I mean, I think that's why a lot of people that are in the service or have been in the service, I think really are drawn to that barbecue world, is because there's that same kind of camaraderie that, hey man, you do your own thing, but you get the job done, and everybody kind of hangs out and respects each other's differences, I guess you'd say, or similarities. So I just
And
kind
they'll
of want
help
to
you.
throw that in there.
Yeah, and they help you too. Like if they like for me, Rob and Amy, Brad and Brooke, and it's like they will they will tell you if you're doing something, I don't want to say wrong, but like if there's a better way to do it. And if they think that they can hook you up with somebody else that knows something that can help you, and they know that they're willing to do that, they will make that connection for you. Brad and Brooke, like again, I was a nobody. I'm still a nobody necessarily, it
Ah,
doesn't really matter, but like they literally walked me around to Johnny Joseph and like all of these like, and again, I didn't know all these people because I hadn't been in that circuit world. But
right,
like
right.
they're introducing me to all these people, and they're like, oh hey, and they're nice to me and they're talking to me, and they're seeing me later on and coming and talking again. It's like, most places they don't do people don't do that to you. You're their competition or whatever. But
Right.
people just want to teach and have fun, and it's a great experience. And I'm hoping to be able to kind of encapsulate some of that experience up here when we do ours, hopefully in June. But like again, the shed is just this crazy experience, and it's just an awesome time. It
Absolutely.
was
So
it was cold.
did you compete? at all?
I did.
Or
I did the steak A and B. So I did the ribeye. So they changed it up a little bit, but so they had the ribeye with steak A, and then they did a New York strip for steak B. Yeah,
see, that's
yeah,
they're listening. I'm telling you, because
yeah.
that I love that. That's awesome. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I
Sorry to
like it
interrupt.
too. Yeah, and I mean, I love a ribeye. Don't get me wrong. Like ribeyes are great, but like if you can cook a strip as good as you cook a ribeye with less fat on the inside, it's
Yep.
not all intermuscular like that, like it is with a ribeye. Like you're doing something right. You can cook, And it's funny. I actually ended up doing better on my New York strip than I did on my ribeye.
So
But
are you still doing, please, we're gonna talk about this real quick. Are you still doing the freaking grill marks? Or are you gonna give me a get blow the SCA world? And I know some have won with this, but a good sear. I want more people to start winning with a good sear.
yeah, I did a sear a couple of years ago, and people are like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing that?" And then I'm like, "It doesn't say I can't. It doesn't have,
You
And they're like, "What
can,
about
yeah.
appearance?" I'm like, "Have you ever seen a perfectly
Yeah,
golden, like
it's
caramelized steak?
yes,
Like,
thank you. Thank you.
as long as you do it
Especially
right."
especially like a well, because we're reminded like a New York strip. I mean, oh my goodness, like just that caramelization that it gets on the top, just ah,
Well, the other thing too about doing it in a pan is you can continue to add flavor to it. Throw a couple
yes,
of pats of butter in there with garlic and
yes.
some rosemary, and like just baste it as you're cooking it. Whereas usually when you're grilling it, like you put it on there, you give it a little press to get
It's
it on
just
there, and then you close the top. Yeah, like that's it. So like you can
which
add
is
some salt or
why
whatever at the end, but
and it's funny because and it's funny you said that. So you're absolutely correct. Obviously you are. Yes, you could keep flavoring it. So which is why in a lot of the and I won't say SEA, I'm just gonna say a lot of the competitions or whatever, people are layering with so much rubs is because they're trying to compensate. Well, naturally, I mean, you got to compensate for, you know, not being able to do that exact thing that you're talking about when you're searing in a pan. So I don't know, dude. I really want you to try your hardest to start doing it because I'm all about changing the game, but I'm also about like traditions. I'm also on the fence of like I don't know. Like I have these little stupid little things that I did on Instagram where I would do like in the clouds and I would say like public service announcement from above, and I would say I said grill marks aren't searing; they're just grill marks. Like a sear is actually a sear. So I'm really big on that, and I think that a ton of your flavor can come in that.
I absolutely agree. And I'll even go even crazier if you want. I mean, people don't
Do
do it
it.
in the competition world, but why not sous vide your steak first?
I've
Whether you
yeah,
pre-sear it or afterwards, because you can lock in all that flavor and then finish it over the grill. But
and
it's more challenging.
you
Yeah.
can, but the only problem with that is you only have a certain amount of time to do your steaks.
Well, in the competition world, you get your steak like we got it at like nine
Yeah, I
o'clock in the
guess you
morning, and
have.
then I didn't have to turn it until two.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I
So
guess
I could
you're.
literally
Yeah.
sous vide it for as soon as I get it over there, season it up, sear it,
So
and
really,
stick it in the
so
sous
I'm
vide.
not big on the sous vide thing.
I just like it because you can trap the flavors. So you don't have to like. So what I do is make a marinade or even just a rub with a little extra olive
Uh huh.
oil in there, and then vacuum seal it because it's gonna force in all that flavor of this rub or whatever you put on it. It's gonna
Right.
force it into the meat deeper than just leaving it on top. It's gonna take longer to do it. So I also like to use sugar, which blows
Yes.
some people's mind. But I had a chef, Italian chef, that taught me. He's like, if you just sprinkle some white granulated sugar on your
Yep.
meat before you season it, let it sit for a second. You can see it'll pull the moisture out. So when you salt it, it'll actually suck more of the
Yes,
flavor
it'll go
stuff
back
back
in.
into the meat. Yeah. So and I've done that for probably 6 years, 7 years now,
Freaking
and it's like
brilliant.
it
I
works great.
actually, it's funny is I love a sweetness on a steak. Like, there's times where like I will like actually like just do a quick dusting of like some sugar, which is why, to be honest, which is why I love. This isn't a plug or anything, but which is why I do love the Blazing Star barbecue rubs. Is like say that the pork and rub or the Reaper. I love putting that Reaper rub on a tri-tip and just that alone because oh my god, dude, it's got that sweet, it's got the heat, it's got the savoriness. It's just fantastic. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that you talked about the sugar part because I love it. I just love it.
Well, it's just a
And
different way of thinking about it. People don't.
how yeah, exactly.
So I mean, if you go to like Franklin's, like you can't beat Franklin's brisket half the time. You know what I mean? If it's done, fresh or whatever. But like he uses salt and pepper. That's it. Salt and pepper.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? And it tastes amazing. But it's all the bark and all the smoke and all the flavor that he gets in that. And it's like you don't have that much time, like you said, on the grill. You got 8 minutes, give or take,
Yeah.
to grill it perfectly. So it's like you got to figure out different ways to get it in there. Like I said, whether if it's sous vide in a bag or at least vacuum sealed to force that stuff in there or whatever, or pan sear in it in a pan. Adding butter. There's so many different ways to do stuff. But you're right though. Like me, as a as a classically trained chef, I would rather do it in a pan.
Yeah.
Even if it's over open fire. Like I would take Al's that same cowboy grill, take the
Yeah.
grate off completely, and just stick my pan right on top of the fire.
It
Or
would
the coals.
seriously be perfect.
Yeah, and I was trying to impart the smoke flavor. I brought a couple wood chunks down from my house, and I
Right.
tried to cook over a little bit of wood too to add some flavor. So, anything to think outside the box because, like you're right, it is kind of cookie cutter, and I think why people grill mark still is because the people that have traditionally won constantly they've grill marked, right? And that's what everybody tells me, like you need a grill mark, and I'm like, but it only does some like it looks like you said, it looks like everybody else's.
Yeah.
Why don't you let me sear it? I think searing is a good way too. So
So you
I don't
brought
know.
up a point when I know you probably were like, what? Like when you were talking about the steak A, steak B, and there was a ribeye and there was a New York strip. So that's kind of like my idea is kind of like you said, the traditionally for the state competitions, it's always the ribeye, and people practice that. They trim it. They do this. They do this. They, you know, it's like clockwork to them, kind of like trimming ribs or doing like a St. Louis ribs, and it's the same thing every time. I personally, for me, I think changing up the SCA game would be a steak. You don't know what you got. It
Yeah,
could be a New York strip. It could be a flank.
yeah,
But for me, that would keep everybody on their toes, and I think it would really challenge everybody, and you would come out with some really good stuff. But like you said, I think the turn-ins for the steaks are always, I can't say always, but a lot of the times very similar, with the same rubs, the same rub combinations that people are using, the same way that they're turning it in, the same trim, all the other stuff. I mean, there's a few little tips and tricks that people do. One of my favorites, he's in here right now, Cherry Anchor Barbecue. Really good dude. That dude puts in so much work, dude, into the SCA competition, and I'll tell you, man, that dude's gonna be he's gonna go places with the competition stuff like that. But anyways, that was a side note again too. But yeah.
that's cool.
So
I mean, it's funny to watch people compete though. Like that's the one thing
yeah,
that's different is everybody has their own little like way of doing stuff. Like I've seen people with little tweezers like pulling meat or these little like
yeah,
surgical scissors and they're cutting out little pieces of fat on the inside. And I'm like,
yeah,
pins and like all sorts of. I'm like, I came down with a roll of butcher's twine and about 4 knives just in case I need to do some extra trimming or something.
yeah, yeah.
And then the grill. It's like, and I don't know. It's like maybe I'm wrong. I may haven't won the whole thing, so I guess maybe I'm not doing something right just yet. But it's like
Well,
it just seems
again,
crazy.
again,
So
I even think the judges are used to a certain way that it should be, kind of, or
yeah,
the way that it's been.
flavors are the same thing, right?
Right.
So that
Yeah.
that's my biggest problem right now that I've had is like I'm cooking like I'm thinking I'm in a restaurant and I'm going for the building the flavor the way I've been
Yeah.
taught. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And then I go down to compete in a barbecue competition, and that's not what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Like I did a compound butter with like white wine in it, and I cooked my steak, and then I literally put it in the butter, like a hot butter that I had cooking, just to finish the steak, and they
Yeah.
didn't like that. I'm like, that's a compound. Like if you went to a Michelin star restaurant or some other really
That'll
nice
cost you
steakhouse,
$75.
yeah, I'm like, do you know what I did? You know what I went through to make this steak for you?
I hear you.
So
I hear you. And I
uh,
think, and I guess that's where I'm going, is I think there should be uh, a more variety in those steak or in any of the barbecue competitions. I think it we should, people like you, even like me or whatever, even and you could vouch for this too. Blazing Star Barbecue, their rubs are very unique. You know,
yeah,
changes the game. It's not full of just red paprika and oh, it's red and it's sweet and there we go. It's about originality. I really think that changing that game, I think, will be amazing. I'm just, it's like I did a rib competition, right? I spent months doing the same, the sweet, the candy, the whatever kind of rib that everybody wants,
Yeah.
with a few little things that no one was really doing at the time, but it worked. I mean, I won first place, but I think it was because I did a little bit different. You know what I mean? And I'm all about that. I would rather blow someone away with the taste of my food than to win.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. I want somebody to go, "Ooh, that's freaking fantastic," rather than someone go, "Oh, yep, that's the best one of these flavors."
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
think so too. I mean, it's nice to get high marks, you know, in flavor, but like it'd be nice to win once in a while too. But the thing is you're absolutely right though too. It's a mindset. I don't think anyone's telling them, hey, if it doesn't taste like this, you know, they can't win. You know what I mean? But I think that it's just they're so used to those flavor profiles. You know what I mean? Because
yeah,
like you're right. So many the rubs out there that I've tasted, they're so similar and garlicky or salty. It's like it's kind of the same thing. You're right. Mike's Blazing Star stuff is like it's outside the box and it's
yes,
delicious. It tastes like the beef like you want it to, but it also enhances the flavor, which
it,
is a big deal.
dude. And to be honest, and Mike knows this, dude, from the very start. And I got them. I bought them in. I got them in the mail. I opened them up, and I was like, "Whew." I'm like, "This smells like cumin. Smells like chipotle." I'm like, "I don't know, dude." I was very, very, I'm telling you, I was very reluctant. I was the traditional, like, I'm going to layer this with the garlic salt. And then I got these, I'm not going to name names of companies, but, because I don't want anybody thinking I'm talking bad. But, and I got this rub that I'm going to put on the bottom side. And then I'll do the top side with this sweet rub. And then, you know, and when as soon as I cooked it with the Blazing Star pot, I was like, oh my God. Like, I think you were gonna say something. Well, you did, but even further, all of them, they really do enhance what you're cooking. Like, it's not just a bunch of stuff put together. It's like thought out, I guess, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and they are, and like you said, it just does it its own way, but well, like you said, a lot of it's like these guys want to be really salt forward. Like there's like the two things, like they really want to be salt forward or they really want to be pepper forward,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and the taste, and then the rest of it is all like just happens to be there sometimes. And there's nothing wrong with that because a lot of them taste still really good, but it's like those are like the two main profiles I've seen. They want either salty or they peppery,
Yeah.
and then like Mike's stuff is different. Like I said, there's a whole other flavor, and it's the smell too. The
I
smell that
know.
you get when you cook it and when you just smell it and taste it.
Yes.
It's awesome stuff. And like I'm trying to do my own rubs too. And Mike got to try them while I was down there.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's like I think mine are outside the box too. Not that I was like trying to mirror his or anything, but like I have a different style just because of my experience.
Yeah.
And now he's bringing that same thing, or
And
he was already doing that anyway. But
that is what this world needs, man. And
yeah,
and I know Michael will agree. He'll freaking support you 110%, I mean, if they're good, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
it's not just because it's different. I mean, it has to be quality. But I think that that's what's good, and it keeps the barbecue stuff going and moving. You know,
yeah, yeah,
I love traditions, and I know you do. You obviously do. The cookbook you were talking about. I mean, just the traditional, just respecting traditions. Let's just say that regional. I love regional barbecue. Love Texas barbecue, Carolina. All of that kind of stuff. But the majority, it's like everybody's kind of like it has to be a certain way. You cook in Kansas City, it should be this way. You know,
yeah.
I think it should just be your own damn way. If it tastes good, why not?
Yeah, I mean, and they can keep it regional, but like you said,
Yeah,
like it.
yeah,
But I think on the flip side, though, like if you're gonna cook their way, like give them the kudos. Like don't steal something. Like I said, hey, I did Alabama white sauce. I'm not gonna be like, oh, this is Chef Fritz's white barbecue sauce. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like
This is
I used their framework for the sauce. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Absolutely.
there is definitely a place for, tradition and history and stuff like that. And it's just nice to be able to, if you understand it, in my opinion, I think if you understand the tradition, that's when you can expand outside of it to make things better, or different in a good way. And you're
And
doing
there you go.
homage to
Yes.
the history.
To go even further, I think once you respect the traditions, I think you could really, really move those further. Right. Okay. So less than a couple minutes. I want you to just tell these people, man, what are your goals? Like, where do you want to see yourself? I can see your passion in this barbecue stuff. I really do. And food and whatnot. I mean, whether it be Chef Fritz's restaurant sometime soon, whether it be, what is it? Let us know, man. What's your future look like?
Yeah, it's still being defined. You know what I mean? Like I said, it was kind of like a whirlwind. Like last 3 or 4 months for me getting out. I did a fellowship, or a externship type thing with this company. I helped this guy start a food truck. We did a international fusion comfort food. I spent 3 months with him doing that, and it was a great experience. But in the end, I didn't feel like we melded well. So that was my second transition, basically, right off the bat. Um, but yeah, I mean, I wanted a Michelin star restaurant, for the last 14 years. That was my goal. But now that I'm retired and I'm getting a little bit older, I'm looking at the restaurant world, and I still would love to have a restaurant, but we're looking at building a venue space here on the farm at Liberty Delights, hopefully this year. That's kind of what I'm thinking we're going to do, because I can do. So my partner Mike, his name's Mike Edwards. He's in the Coast Guard still right now.
Uh-huh.
But like we're gonna set our own menu. It's gonna be open fire cooking. We'll have a commercial kitchen and things, but it's gonna be open fire cooking and showing the versatility that we can do with open fire, and whether it's vegetables or protein, whatever, it doesn't
Right.
really matter. But that's what we want to do. We want to do that, and then we're still gonna do dinners, like we already do dinners now, but where we can be more creative and develop new dishes and things like that. So like that's my goal, is to get this venue open and start doing catering type stuff, weddings. I hate the word catering, by the way. I call it a dinner experience, because it's not me throwing some food in a chafing dish, on
Yeah,
a
yeah,
table.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know what I
Definitely,
mean?
definitely.
Like what they did down at Al's place. Like, that's the kind of stuff I want people to like walk around, and the food is fine dining, but the atmosphere is super casual to have a
Uh-huh.
good time. Like, that's my goal, is to have that. And then
I
I
like that.
don't care about notoriety so much, but at the same time, it would be nice, like to have us, like the Liberty Delights and my friend Mike and I, like to be able to get recognized a little bit, because we've done
Well,
a lot of stuff.
shout that out. Shout that out real quick. Like, so what exactly are you talking about?
Just like to recognize. So,
Yep.
like I said,
Yeah. What's
the
the
Michelin
no.
star
What's the name?
for our company.
Yeah.
So there's Liberty Delight Farms. See, so
Liberty
this
Delight
yeah,
Farms.
Delight Farms. It's in Reisterstown, Maryland. So they're our host, right? So they're our partner. So I'm the chef in residence there. And then the company that I currently own myself is called Silver Wolf Private Assistance. And
Oh,
that's where I do like anything that I want, really, because that's what the private assistance is for.
nice.
But the company that my friend Mike and I are founding basically is called Black Smoke and Ember. So that's
Oh,
gonna be
see?
our company name. So we can do a little barbecue, but it's really, we're trying to really capture the whole, like I said, open fire, from basic
Mm,
backyard barbecue through fine dining experience, and
I
be able to
love
bring
it.
that to people. And we both
Black smoke and
and Ember.
ember.
Yep. So
Whew. Dude,
yeah. So we're
that's a sexy name.
thanks. Yeah, yeah.
If you need a voiceover work for your commercials or anything, just let me know. Because I
We're
really want
beautiful.
to say that. Is it and Ember or just Ember?
It's an Ember, like, so it's
Okay. So
with
it's
an N and
Black
apostrophe.
Smoke and Ember. Ooh, gives me
Yep.
chills. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thanks, man. But yeah, so that's really that's really my goal. Is that's where I want to be. The food line that I'm doing now is doing great. It's expanding faster actually than I was expecting, since it's like, just local. But being able to expand that too, and hire some actual employees, so I don't have to do every single thing, would be great.
Right.
So, and then having some really badass spices out there, working with Mike, and just show people that there's other things out there, different, not in a bad way, but other things out there that are outside the box a little bit.
Yeah, that's in a
So,
great way, just for people to expand their minds. I mean,
yep.
granted, I won't eat like rattlesnake, but expanding my mind that way is just not going to work. But yeah, I get it. I get it. So hey, Ellie. But we're about to close this up. So what I do like to do though, after we close this up, I do a what I call the after party on Instagram. Just gives us a little less formal kind of chit chat. We could invite a few people in there, kind of just hang out. And I always invite my guests to be the featured guests on there. So hopefully you could join us.
Yeah.
You'll okay. All right.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Oh, dude. So with that said, I'm gonna say I am seriously. I know you said this a couple minutes ago or whatever. You're not like your notoriety's not that big, but dude, I'm honored to have you on here. Like honestly, um, you're really going to be freaking huge. Like I just know it. And even if you're not, you really are. You know what I mean? I mean, there's so many people who don't know Tuffy Stone. Oh, who's that? What? But we would go every. When I would. I'm a big Weber guy, and so I don't. I want you to know that I'm honored for you to be on here, dude, and dude, the best wishes for you, like in everything you do, because I really do relate to a lot of the things you're doing, and I really respect that. Yeah, and Blazing Star says you're definitely going to do big things, and he's seen you in action, dude. I mean, just the way you talk about it, if anything, I really think that you're going to help, kind of like what you were saying, move the barbecue world and fine dining in a whole different direction, in a positive direction. You know,
I hope so, man. That's my goal too. Is like I said, I really would love. I like that versatility of open fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's like people hear that and they're like, "Oh, it's barbecue." It's like it's
No,
not just barbecue. You know
not
what I
at
mean?
all.
Like it used to piss me off when I hear people like, "Oh, you can't eat that because it has carbon on it and it's bad for you." And it's
Oh,
like,
geez
come on, man.
Louise.
Like that always irked me too. But no, I
But
appreciate
see,
it.
and that's what you're gonna do. That's what you're gonna do is you're gonna be able to educate the world on that kind of stuff. I love that, dude. I can't wait to see your Netflix special. Like I'll be like, oh my god, I know that guy.
I'll still come on too, man. So
Hey,
if I ever get big,
if you ever do anything like that, all I ask is just be like, hey, what's up, barbecue Steve? Just say that for like, just that's it. Just
oh yeah,
somewhere.
got
But anyways, with that said, I appreciate you being on here. And yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and end this. Just stay with me for a couple minutes after I end it, and this way we could just catch up on a few things, and then all right. Thank you everybody for joining in and watching it. Have a great night.